say one of the hardest things though is to actually stop, because I actually enjoy my job. I got to a good place. Management was always really interesting. It's like problem solving, strategic. I'm working with senior people, right? I don't have to deal with a lot of the politics. But if I was honest with myself, if they weren't paying me, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So if I was really being true to myself of what is my ideal life and what I really want to do, it's not actually getting up and doing that every day. So that's what ultimately made me make the leap and then go full time, at least trying to design my life and kind of say, right, every day I'm going to do what I actually want rather than what I feel I need to do to just make more money or look more significant, which I think is a bit of a trap sometimes, especially for men.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to, designing a life, at what point did that, in the journey that you outlined, at what point did that come into something very specific where you're like, this is what I'd like it to look and this is how I'll organize it?
In terms of what the ideal life looked like. Oh, it's a real journey. I mean, I've spent years thinking about this, in part because I had a really difficult life. And when I was around 15, I, kind of had a realization that my life was going down a pretty lackluster route. And so I kind of was like, right, I'm going to get good grades and I'm going to get confident and do all the things that successful people do. And, in a couple of years, I got really good results. I was, I had lots of friends and good grades and I'd got into a really good uni and got this gap year planned and everything. And I honestly thought I'd solved life. But the reality kicked in a couple of years later when I started university and I got pretty bad depression. And I think just I guess the trauma of having grown up in such a difficult environment finally hit me. And yeah, it was clearly not working, and it was quite a few years of quite unhappiness. And that really made me spend a lot of time in the world of personal development, of trying to understand myself, how to solve this, how do I cure my depression, but also like just be happier and be more clear on where I'm going and stuff like that. And I think the years of doing that equipped me for not just, I guess, getting through that depression and surviving, but then equipped me to then thrive. And, I've always been passionate about personal development. It's a big part of who I am. So to answer your question specifically, I think personal development inevitably takes you down a path of asking these types of questions, like, what do I want to do with my life? What fulfills me? Being intentional about the direction you're taking. And I knew very early on I wanted to like help and teach and coach, and I've always been like that. It really juices me. When I go off a coaching call, I'm just so energized. I just absolutely love it. I know that that's like my calling and something I just really love. When I was trying to become financially free, that period of my life, it was a bit more of an idea. I just want to be financially free. That was all that mattered, because I was like, once I get there, then I can then start to actually live my life. The problem is, and a lot of people will say, when you listen to people who've gotten to a similar part of the journey, when you get there, it then comes with its own challenges, because when you're getting up every day and you need to work because you've got to make money, or you're trying to strive to that next promotion and just to like either just to pay your bills, or because you want to create that financial success, life is pretty simple, because once you take away time working, sleeping, seeing friends, seeing a partner, doing some hobbies, like that's all your time.
Mm-hmm.
When you stop working, you're like, okay, now what? And that's great, but it's also hard, because you're like, well, what do I pick? You can kind of have anything, do anything, but whatever you choose to do, you're kind of always thinking, oh, what, should I do this? Should I do that? And I've gone on a real journey with that over the last few years, and various things have come up, and there's been different phases of that. And, so I've traveled a lot, and it's been amazing. And living in different countries like Bali, like Portugal. But then I'm like, do I stay there? Do I go somewhere else? So I don't know, and we can get into that a bit more. But it's you go through a bit of an existential crisis. That's probably the best word to put it.
That makes sense. Something I was thinking about or really wanted to ask about was